Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Shah Weekly. And in this video we're going to learn that how we can integrate Firebase with our SwiftUI applications. Now this is a multi-part tutorial in which we are going to build a simple to-do list using SwiftUI and Firebase. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, make sure that you have a Google account and you are signed into your Google account. Once you are signed in, simply go to Google and search for Firebase. And if you search for Firebase, it will take you to firebase.google.com. Firebase itself is an umbrella product. It's a platform that provides you with many different services, and database or Firestore is one of them. So let's go to the console. You can see on the top right, I'm signed in and I have a link going to the console. Let's go to the console for Firebase. Now you can already see that I have a couple of different projects in my Firebase dashboard. And obviously if you're using it for the first time, you're not really going to see anything over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a new project. So let's go ahead and click on Add Project. And now you need to provide the name for your project. I'm just going to call it Simple To Do. That's fine. I can go ahead and continue. Google Analytics. If you enable Google Analytics for this project, it says recommended. That's fine. Just going with the default properties. Used for sharing and blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and do that. Create a project. Now, this is going to create a project for you on the Firebase dashboard. And once the project has been created, you can add different products to your Firebase project. And as I mentioned earlier, one of those projects or products that you can add is the Firestore database. Let's go and continue. And there we go. So we have created a simple to-do project. And now we can go ahead and add authentication. We can add Cloud Firestore, we can add Crashlytics, performance, cloud messaging, testing, and all the other things. If you want to also have storage, then all the other properties are over here. You can also see that there's machine learning over here if you want to add machine learning to your iOS application or web application or Android application. I'm going to select Cloud Firestore. Cloud Firestore is a document database. All right, now there are two different kinds of databases. There is a real-time database and there is a Firestore database. The real-time database is right here. And then you have the Cloud Firestore. Real-time database is kind of like the old version of Firestore. They have modified a lot of different things in Firestore, making this API much more nicer. So I'm just going to select Cloud Firestore. And then I'm just going to say create database. Now, when you click on create database, it will tell you that, hey, do you want to start in production mode or do you want to start in test mode? Production mode basically means that the data is private, so you cannot really read or write, edit, or any of those things. You don't really have permissions. Test mode basically means that anyone can read or write the data, which is perfectly fine in our case. I'm just going to select start in test mode, but make sure that when you are close to the deployment of the app that you select the production mode if that is the mode that you wish to select for your app. I'm going to say next. That is fine. I'm going to say enable. And it's going to create a Cloud Firestore database for us. Now, make sure that you understand that the Cloud Firestore database is a document database and not a relational database. So it is going to store the values in the form of collections, meaning collection is a group of documents, and each collection can have a group of documents. Right now you can see that there is no collection and, well, there are no documents. The only thing that we see over here is this simple to do, which is kind of like acting as a root node of our tree, which is the document tree. So we don't really have anything over here. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to integrate Firebase into our SwiftUI application. And that is where you will have to do a little bit more research, because we will go to the docs right there and we will try to find out that which platform are we trying to integrate. And obviously we're trying to integrate with iOS. So I'm just going to select iOS. Okay. And now from the left menu over here, you should be able to find the product that you want to integrate. So don't select real-time database because this is not the database we're using. We're using Cloud Firestore. And now we can go to introduction or getting started and we can read more about it. All right, so let's go to the getting started. And this is going to show you how you can integrate. So right now you can see that all of these different frameworks can be used to integrate to the Firebase Firestore. The one that we want is iOS. I'm just going to select iOS and we will start with setting up our development environment. Now, right now, I don't even have a project that is a SwiftUI project, or I don't even have an iOS application to begin with. So let's go ahead and first of all create an iOS application with SwiftUI, and then we can follow these steps to integrate the Firestore and Firebase to our app. All right, so here is my simple to-do application that is using SwiftUI framework. Now, this application is not yet integrated with Firebase, so let's go ahead and see how we can do that. If you go to the documentation, the first thing that they're saying is that we need to add Firebase Firestore, and we also need to add Firebase Firestore for Swift, since we're using Swift. And this has to be done using pods, which is CocoaPods. So first of all, make sure that you have CocoaPods installed. You can search for CocoaPods and you can install CocoaPods. It's a platform to install dependencies. All right. Now, with that said, I'm just going to go into the folder. So I'm already inside the simple to do folder, and you can see over here I can see my Xcode project and everything. I'm going to go ahead and say pod init. This means that we are initializing CocoaPods, and if you do ls again, you can see that now it has created a file called pod file. And this is where we are going to write our packages that we need to integrate with our simple to-do application. Now, at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and close Xcode altogether. Okay. And let's open up the pod file. There we go. You can see when you open a pod file, it has a few default lines of code. It's a simple kind of like a text file. And now we can go ahead and copy this. These are the two pods that we need because we want to integrate it with the Firestore database, right? So that's why these are the two packages that we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these packages and I'm going to paste it right here. There we go. Let's save it, close it, and now run pod install. Now this is going to go ahead and download all the different pods that have a dependency on the Firestore, and depending on the pods it can take a while. I know that there is a pod that sometimes, I think it's this one, GPRC or something, it takes a very long time to download. Okay, so now we have downloaded all the pods, and if you go ahead and look at your directory, now you have a completely different file. It's a workspace file now, right here. And this is the one that you should be using now, because this is the one that has integration with the pods. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And you will see that now your project, which is your simple to do project, has been integrated with pods. You can see the pod project on the right. And if we go to the project, I mean, the project itself is the same. It's not, we haven't really done anything. We have integrated it, but we are not really using Firebase or anything like that. So let's go ahead and see what's the next step. So the next step is to initialize the Cloud Firestore database. And they're also saying that you should do that in app delegate. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go inside app delegate. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and import Firebase, and also I'm going to import Firebase core, and then I'm going to go inside over here the did finish launching with options, and we can run Firebase app.configure. So Firebase app.configure. Great. And this is going to configure Firebase. But right now it's not really going to work because we missed one very important step, and that is a info.plist file that Firebase is going to provide us. Let's go back to our code over here, our project. Go ahead and click on the settings and say project settings. Now in the project settings, we do have to tell Firebase at which apps will be used in this project. So I'm just going to go to iOS, and I need to provide the bundle ID. So let's go back to our project and try to find out the bundle ID. This is, if you click on the project, the bundle identifier will be right here. Make sure that you are selecting the general tab. Just going to select that, go back, there we go, and we'll register the app. The most important thing that we actually need to do is to register the app as well as download the configuration file, which we are going to do right now. You can see that we can go ahead and download the configuration file. Let's go ahead and download that. Now, once you have downloaded the configuration file, all you need to do is to drag and drop this file into Xcode. All right, so I can go ahead and I know that the name of the file is different because I already downloaded it. So let's go ahead and see if we can actually integrate this file in our Xcode. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into over here and simply drag and drop this file. And instead of calling it plist2 or something, I'm just going to call it Google Info plist. This is all the different settings and all those different keys and all that stuff. All right. Let's go ahead and build it again. Now you can see that when the first time you are building, it is going to take a very long time to build. I mean, it might even take like 5 to 8 minutes just to build, because you can see the amount of things that are being built, and it's just going to be taking a long time. But on the future builds, it will be a little bit more faster. But once this build is done, we are free to use Firebase and Firestore, and we will be able to see our data and all of those different things. Now, right now, obviously, we don't really have any data, so we will have to provide some sort of a UI, some sort of a layer that we can make a request to Firebase, and we can save our things in the Firestore database. Okay, so now everything looks like it's integrated. We have edited our app delegate, and we have called the Firebase app.configure, and everything should be good. Now, to keep things simple, I'm not going to use MVVM design pattern. I'm not going to create managers and all those different layers to hide or wrap up the Firestore manager or something like that. I'm going to write all the code in my content view. We may have a class called task and things like that, but I want to keep everything very simple. Now, we can go ahead and create a little bit more complicated stuff later on, but when we are learning about Firebase, I think we have to keep the complexity of MVVM design pattern and all of those different things a little bit away. Later on, we can learn more about this. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to refer to, well, Firebase and Firestore. So let's go ahead and import Firebase, and I will go ahead and also import Firebase Firestore. Okay, now I will go over here and create a variable. So var db equals to Firestore dot Firestore. So this is going to be our reference, the DB, and this is going to allow us to interact with the Firestore database. Let's go ahead and add a VStack over here. And inside the VStack, I'm just going to go ahead and add a text field. And it will say enter task. And the text is going to go into a property called title, which will be a state property in our content view. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a state var title, which will be a string. So every time I type something in the text field, it's just automatically going to go into the title field. Now I also want to make sure, let's see, why is it not appearing? So you can see it's already pretty much dying over here. Maybe I should have selected a different one. Let's go ahead and select the different one. This one. Enter task, and we are going to go with the title property. And for editing change, we don't really care about editing change, so I'm just going to move it, keep it empty. OnCommit is fired when I am completely done. I press a return key. So basically what I want is that whenever I am done, the OnCommit fires, and this is my opportunity to get the data from the text field and save it into Firebase. All right. And just to keep things a little bit clean, I'm just going to go ahead and say save task. Now, save task is a function which we will define right here. Save task. Now, keep in mind that right now I'm really not using any kind of a pattern. I'm just showing you the Firebase and the Firestore side so that you can understand this. But if you want to write a production app, I would not recommend using this approach. Maybe in the future I can show you that how you can use MVVM design pattern or some other design pattern to make it a little bit better. Okay, so we got the text field. I'm going to go ahead and add some sort of a style to the text field, which will be a rounded border text field style. There we go. Okay, so text field is done. I think the next control that we want to create is, eventually it will be a list. We'll see if we can get to that point or not. So now we have a save task. So save task will be fired whenever we press a return key or enter key when we are in the text field. And the save task is responsible for, well, saving the task. So how do we save the task? So save the task to the Firestore database. That's what we want to do over here. We're going to use DB, which is declared on line number, defined on line number 17, which is a reference to the Firestore. And that actually allows us to refer to a collection, add a document, remove document, update. It's basically our way of interacting with the Firebase or the Firestore database. Collection. A collection is kind of like a table, but collection can have multiple hundreds of documents. This is completely up to you, whatever the name that you provide. So basically, if I say over here task, so this kind of means that all the documents I'm going to put in task collection will be representing a single task. So if I am creating a collection called users, then it is automatically assumed that all the documents inside this collection will correspond to or represent a particular user. You get the idea, right? Okay. So we'll say the collection name will be task. Now this collection does not really exist on the Firestore side. You can actually see over here, there is no collection called task. When we create or refer to a collection that doesn't exist, then it will be automatically be created. But if we are referring to a collection that automatically already exists, then it will be used instead. Dot add document. Add document, and you can see that we can send in the data, which is of type of a dictionary. So let's go ahead and send the dictionary title of that document. I mean, this is the key of the dictionary, so you can provide anything you want. And what will be the title? Well, title is right here, whatever the person entered in the text box. So I'm just going to go ahead and say title. All right. Now, this is an asynchronous function, so this means that it is going to return you something, probably an error. If there is error, we can go ahead, if let error, we can unwrap the error. And if there is error, then, well, we'll print it out. Else, well, else nothing. Else looks like the data is inserted. We'll say over here, data is inserted. All right, let's go ahead and build that. And we already know that whenever we press the return key, this is going to get called, which we're calling it right here, which means that all of this that we have defined is going to run. So let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to go ahead and resume and run the app. And obviously the data is not going to get displayed. It's just going to get inserted if we have done everything correctly. In order to display the data, well, that's a different story. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the name of the task. Let's say mow the lawn or something. And I'm just going to press return key, because I know that when I press return key, the on commit is going to get fired, which eventually calls save task. But the only way to check that if the task is saved, well, we have to go over here. Let's go ahead and refresh the screen and see if the task is actually saved or not. And interesting, here we go. You can see we have a task collection already made. It has a unique document ID. And you can see right here, we have a title, which is mow the lawn. That's what I entered. Let's go ahead and add something else. Our app is running. So I'm going to say wash the car, enter, and there we go. We have washed the car. So we are able to interact with Firebase. Now obviously this doesn't really display anything right now. So let's go ahead and see that how we can accomplish that. How can we display the things, whatever we are entering? All right, so let's go ahead and see that how we can retrieve the task from the Firestore database and then display it. I'm going to go ahead and create another function, and I will call this populate tasks. Now, once again, I do like to mention over here again and again that I'm taking a lot of shortcuts. This is not how you would write your production application. I mean, we are talking about dealing with complete like dictionaries. We're talking about not using our models or our view models and all of those things. I've completely removed all of those things to remove the complexity and just to show you that how it works with just integrating the Firestore and Firebase with SwiftUI application. So that's why it will look a little bit weird, but in the future videos we can show that, I can show that how it actually works with MVVM design pattern. Okay. So populate task, we will go ahead and again refer to db.collection, and the collection name is task.getDocuments. There's the function, and this is going to give us two different things, a snapshot and an error. Now, what exactly is a snapshot? Well, snapshot, as the name says, it's literally the snapshot of the collection task at that particular moment in time. Now, this collection task can have hundreds and hundreds of documents. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this snapshot. And now I need to go through the snapshot, get all the documents, and put it somewhere. I don't really have anywhere to put it. Now, the documents will be returned to you in the dictionary, which will contain the key as a string, and the value will be any, meaning any data type. We're not going to deal with that since we know that we have only inserted the title, so we are only going to be dealing with array of dictionary, and the key is string and the value is also string. If you do want to go with the any, then maybe it's time to look at the model objects rather than using a dictionary. Let's go back over here. And now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and say snapshot.documents. This is going to give you a list of all the documents. I think we have like 2 documents in there. I'm going to go ahead and perform a map. And inside the map, I'm going to go ahead and return a actual dictionary which will contain the key as a string, which is a title, and the value will be coming from the actual snapshot. So $0 dot data, and this is a dictionary. I mean, I can show it to you. It's actually a dictionary. So if I go over here and say item in data, you can see right here, you can see the data is actually a dictionary. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm just using some shortcuts so I don't have to do that. But if you want to call this item, like you can say it's an actual doc, that's perfectly fine. So I can call it doc if it makes more sense. And then we can return a title, which is a dictionary, and doc.data. And then we will refer to the key that we want, which is in this case title. And the value is any, so we're going to force convert it to a string. Now, this is going to return us an array of dictionaries where the key of the dictionary is string and the value of the dictionary is also string, but we are not really putting it anywhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and say task, and there we go. So now we're putting it inside the task array. After that, we just need somewhere to list it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and say list of task. The ID in this case will be self. We will get a task, which is a dictionary, by the way. And if we want to print it out, I can simply go ahead and access the actual key that I want to print out, which is only one, which is title. And there we go. Let's go ahead and build this. So this is going to at least give you an idea of how we can display information from Firebase over here in our app. So let's go ahead and run the app. Hopefully it will show 2 items because I think we inserted 2 items before. And we have to make sure that we are calling populate task, and we didn't call. So let's go ahead and call this on appear. Obviously, if you don't call the function, nothing happens. So I'm just going to call it populate task over here on appear. And there we go. We got our 2 tasks back. The other thing that we want to do is whenever we are saving a task, which is right here, we want to fetch the task again. So right over here where we're calling that the data has been inserted, we can now again call self.populateTask. Now, by the way, in Firebase, they do provide a feature of kind of like watching or putting observables or observers on the list or a snapshot. So you don't really have to do all of this stuff. You don't have to call it again. It's going to call on behalf of you. That's fine. That's a different story for some other time, but you can also do those things. Okay, let's go ahead and add another task. And this time I'm going to say mail the bill or something. There we go. We got our bill mail. And let's say wash dishes. So you can see it's actually working fine. Feed the rabbit. There we go. And if we go back to our actual Firestore database, you can see all of our tasks are in our collection. So in this video, you learned that how you can integrate Firebase and Firestore with your SwiftUI application. The architecture that we use is very, very simple, and for really simple cases, you can definitely use that, but obviously your application will be much more difficult and much more advanced than what I'm showing you. Then in those cases, it should be better that you form a certain pattern like MVVM design pattern, view models, and all of those different things. But to get started, you can definitely look into how you can access the Firebase database, save a task, and also retrieve the task. If you like my video and want to support my channel, then the best way would be to check out my courses on Udemy. I have a lot of different courses on Udemy, and I'm always working on new one. Check out my course SwiftUI Declarative Interfaces for any Apple device. This is a 21+ hour course just on SwiftUI. This is amazing, right? Creating and combining views, building lists and navigation. We're also going to dive into understanding MVVM design pattern. You're also going to learn about posting data and JSON integration, integration with core data and SwiftUI. You're also going to learn about SwiftUI 2.0, which just got released in June. So this is a lot of stuff that you are going to learn in this course. It's an amazing course, 21 plus hours of course, and check it out. It has great ratings and close to, I would say 4,600 students and always growing. So check it out. The best way to get this course is to check out the YouTube description. There are links to all of my courses. So if you already have this course, then maybe you'll be interested in server-side Swift. Maybe you'll be interested in some other courses. I have a lot of different courses, and I'm sure that you are going to enjoy all of them. You can check it out. Thank you so much, and enjoy this video.